Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusha here, and now, before we begin, let us give a brief little review. In the last part, a number of events have happened. Now, we had Deku. Deku, he was at Site 19 and he got to play a game with an SCP known as 2098, a friendly game of pool. Now, a lot of things happened after this game. Deku went back to his cell and he was watching television whenever Mallow 1471 popped up in his cell. She called him a friend, and she was excited. She was teleporting around the room for attacking Izuku and demanifesting. And Deku thought this was very strange. However, he just tried to go back to his day. However, his day is currently being interrupted because of one thing. SCP-2756, aka Not a Turtle. For the last few weeks, strange activity has been happening around the site, and some of it can be blamed on Dr. Bright. However, before Dr. Bright was dragged away from a mob after a food fight, he was teleported to a Keter containment cell, and a number of people thought he was pulling pranks on them. Dr. Cleft heard the man scream out it was a reality bender. It wasn't him. And Dr. Cleft began to investigate. And after they discovered the source of this anomaly, the source of all this reality bending, 2756 truly manifested into reality. There are 3 foundation reality anchors right now. One is not working, one is malfunctioning, and one is busted. So yeah, with those 3 reality anchors not currently operational, this is a problem, because there is a rogue reality bender in Site 19. And currently let's pick up with Izuku, who is sitting in his cell. Him wondering about a lot of things, as right now he does go to stand there. Currently, him about to hop in the shower. As right now, he does bring his hands up. Him grabbing his shirt and going to pull it over his head. As right now, he does get a turn. Standing in the Site 19 cafeteria. Him looking around. And many people, they're doing this exact same thing. As Deku does get to hold up the knob to his shower. Him surprised. But we're going to drop it. And there actually is Dr. Bright, who currently is hanging from the ceiling from a rope, asking if anyone can get him down from here. And Deku does begin to look around. Him going to bring his hands up, as right now he is going to put his shirt back on. There is where Dr. Bright is swinging rapidly. And the reality bender, they do actually sit there above Dr. Bright on a rope, expressing a few things that they like to at least talk to Site 19 about a lot. The Foundation classified them 2056, though, well, if they do say their true name, it will fry most of their minds. They're fairly certain a few of them could survive, though that would just ruin their game. Anyways, what they want's going to be quite simple. They are going to release some anomalies. And if the Foundation staff can't survive, then they're going to bore him. And they're going to make him hungry. So, they won't roll this world around in a ball of fire if they can feed them. The world's strange, and they plan to hop to another one after this. Start the cycle all over again. Or they could hop to another Foundation site and do this all over again after they erase their memories. Just feed off of the chaos until they can turn off the reality anchors. All it takes is a small mistake. And everyone, they're looking around. Before the anomaly, it does have Dr. Bright swing backwards, smashing to the ceiling, as right now the rope it's hanging from is cut. And people, they do watch the man smash onto a table. Deku running over as he would help the man up. And there actually is Dr. Cleft, who does come walking up expressing that Jack really did mess up, didn't he? Ah, I didn't do this. Currently Deku slicing the rope, and Jack would bring his hands up and turn. Listen, Doctor. What? Jack bringing his hand up and pointing behind Dr. Cleft, and the man would turn. Reno him a bit annoyed as his face drops. Seeing 166 out of her cell, and looking around the room, and there actually is the fact that many anomalies are in the room, most of them cooperative and friendly towards staff and personnel, though this does make him concerned. And Dr. Cleft would immediately yell out for a task force, yelling for all of them that he's Agent Ukulele and he wants many of them to come with him to the armory now. Any anomaly who can stay here and protect site personnel, do so. Researchers, stay here. Military personnel, group up and form a command, starting from highest clearance to lowest. Those who want to go with him, come with him. And currently the set alarm does begin to go off, before they are informed. Site 19 is currently it's going to drift off. For expressing, Site 19 is being restructured by a reality bender, and they are here to entertain him. So, do so and they will survive, otherwise the warhead goes off. Currently, a strange jingle going to play. Before there is where containment cells do have their doors taken off, along with the fact that D-Class have just been released into the facility, along with a number of anomalies. However, some anomalies are being kept in containment. Because honestly, if things get a little too lethal too fast, you can't feed off the chaos. That's just carnage. Now, we do currently have where the site, it does go into lockdown mode, and people are worried about what's happening. And Dr. Cleft does get a turn, walking over and expressing to Bright, call him Ukulele, and for the love of God, don't say his name in front of her. Hey, I got it, okay, Ukulele? Besides, if any of us say, then you're gonna get in a lot of trouble, and she's gonna be amnesticized. I got that. Listen, I just... Currently Deku expressing, he really should talk to her. And Clef will get a turn, staring at Deku and telling him, stay here. They're gonna... Never mind, come with him. Bright, stay here. Also, if he can, he'll be back soon. Though, don't do anything stupid. And Jack will go to bring his hands up. Currently, him looking down and seeing that one of his fingers are broken, before bringing his hand up and trying to fix that. And there currently is Deku, who has a turn looking around, before people do come walking up and trying to pair up on Dr. Cleft's team, since he does need to take a makeshift MTF to the armory, get some weapons, some armor, and hopefully something that can help them out. Now, with that being said, we do currently have some of the anomalies that have been released. Some are surprised, some are intrigued, and some of them are just mindless animals who don't know any better. Though, there's also one anomaly that is intrigued, since there's something going on here. They can feel it in their guts, though they do begin to make the arduous climb out of this area. Now, let's currently pick up with the MTF, who walked out of the cafeteria as people, they begin to bar the room. And Dr. Clef does go to lead the way, him turning and looking at Deku, beginning to express, right, okay, all of them need to understand. They've got to get telekill, and when they have that, they need to locate the reality bender. If they can, they need to either contain it or take it down. Though there's also a problem with that. The site's nuclear warhead's going to go off, and this thing said earlier it feeds on chaos. So they've got an idea as to how to take it down. They're going to try and purposely detonate the warhead, and if it comes to stop them, or if it comes to do something, then they can just take it out that way. Are you sure that would work? I'm pretty sure. Listen, the anchor, the anchors that are down, they're on the east side of the site. Though that does still make up about a fourth of the site. We don't know what this thing did or how it even did it. It's gaining power. It said it feeds off of chaos. So that means if it can, it's going to try and get more. It can grow more powerful and potentially wipe out the entire site. Though, there is the fact that the warhead, it's directly in the heart of the site. What do you mean? It's at the lowest point in the facility. One of them. Along with that, it's set right next to a small reality anchor. Which means it can go off. You're joking. No, but we don't know if that one's operational. We don't know how many things it knocked out until we get to a command center. Currently, they're going around a corner. And Dr. Bright, or not Dr. Bright, Dr. Cleft, I kept doing that in the last part. Dr. Cleft does get a turn, expressing to Izuku, maybe he might want to take this one on. And Deku, he does get a step forwards, looking around and seeing that there's... What is that? Currently, Deku seeing a creature, and it currently does go to walk. It right now with a mechanical body, along with its strange claw-like hand. And there is the expression on its face. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look correct. The way its body seems is highly disproportionate. Whatever it is, it clearly isn't human. Though it does have a similar shape. And Clef would try to express. He's pretty sure that's 203. Listen, that thing is strong. If he can distract it while they go by, he can take it down. Do not terminate. If he terminates it, that's going to cause more problems. And Deku, he does understand. Currently, him going to step forwards before he does suddenly go to disappear. And Dr. Cleft turns to look at that. Before there actually is Deku, who is hanging from the ceiling by his tail again. Him turning his head and looking, oh, come on. Why does this keep happening? Maybe because you're just insane, or your life is a bit fucked up. Deku looking up. Currently the entity going to lower its body through the ceiling, as if it is made of something not solid. And Deku stares down at it. Up? That's... he's staring at its face. And currently it will go to fully land on the ceiling. It being to walk around and talk about it. He's a very strange one, doesn't he know that? You can let me go. No, I don't think I will. Listen, I've met entities that are strange, crazy, weird, but then there's you. There's you. Reality doesn't seem to be all that solid. But you are. Them walking forwards and bringing their hand up. Them tapping Izuku in the face, talking about it. Usually if they wanted to, they can make him ripple like water. They could do quite a lot. Though their abilities seem to be strange around him in particular. Exactly what has he done before? Is he a reality bender? And Deku glares at the creature, it looking at him. Before it does stare at Deku, him bringing his hand up and trying to throw a hand at it. It currently gonna dodge the attack as Deku, he does gonna detach his tail. Currently, him gonna fall, as right now he does go from smashing down on what should be a hard floor to falling down a strange open shaft. Currently, him smashing into the steel wall and gonna turn, being able to fly down it. And Deku, he does use one flail his hands. Currently, him smashing down and into the containment area. Him going to sit up. Oh, God. Okay. That wasn't cool. Where is he now? Him looking up. And currently a man does him flying down. Him with his hands outstretched. Currently Deku gonna roll as does a smash down their fist and land on the ground. Before gonna get back to their feet and turning to Deku. And Deku, he does gonna stare at a strange man with tattoos. And Abel does stand there. Currently, him talking about the strange entity in front of him, wanting to know exactly what the Foundation have sent this time. Just whenever he thought their containment measures were flawed. Who are you? Your Foundation have many names for me, though Abel is what I prefer. And Deku stares at the strange man, him bringing his hands up as is a Zuko, that right now he's wanting to kill something, and he just happens to be in the way. And Deku, he does gonna bring his hands up. Currently, him gonna show his claws as Abel does get someone smile, happy that this thing in front of him is anomalous. Though it also does make him wonder. Currently, him gonna rush forwards and bring his hand up. Him pulling a sword and going to slice it down to Suzuku. And Deku would bring his hand up as he's going to throw up his claws. Currently, Abel slicing through his fingers after a minor adjustment. Currently, the blade stabbing down Deku's shoulder as Abel going to throw his foot up. Him kicking Izuku as Deku does go flying backwards. Currently, him flying down a hallway and smashing on a wall. Him landing on the ground and going to look around. Him highly confused. And this, it's alarming. And then there actually is Abel, who does come in and punching Deku across the face. Currently, him throwing up his left hand and grabbing Deku by the throat, lifting him up and stabbing his weapon directly into his shoulder. And Deku, he doesn't look back down at Abel. And Abel, he does begin to see the rage building in Izuku's face. He's fought many warriors. This one, though, strange. He's warping the space around them, but he doesn't feel pain. Currently, him trying to get an answer out of Izuku. And Deku, he does do one thing. Currently, a spike shooting out from his head as he does a jump backwards. And Deku, he actually does have the spike retract back in as is the hold of his hands. Abel, watching the fingers on Deku's hand begin to regrow. Him going to express to the man that he really shouldn't have done that. And Abel, he is going to pull his second blade, expressing about how he is going to kill him, and then he's going to find out what's going on. He does have plans to leave this site, especially after what the Foundation have already done to him. There is nobody else worthy left. And Deku, he is going to move forwards. Currently Abel rushing as well, as for Deku, he does going to harden his claws. Currently, him going to step forwards, and Abel throws down both of the weapons. Deku taking the attacks directly in the shoulder, him throwing his fist out and punching Abel across the jaw. And Abel, he actually is a lot more alarmed. Currently, him going to step backwards, as Deku, he is going to throw his other hand. Currently, him smashing a fist at Abel as he would grab the man by the hair, him pulling him down forwards and smashing his knee directly up into his face, before grabbing him and in turn chucking him directly through the wall. And people sitting in the cafeteria, they do go to watch the wall be smashed in before able to go rolling in. Currently, him landing on the ground and then gonna get back up. Him turning and seeing many Foundation personnel. And people, they do begin to start screaming in panic. And the entity that is watching all this, they do go to see the chaos begin to unfold, feeling it strengthen their own abilities. And Deku, he does come walking in, him laying out an animalistic growl as Reno Abel does get a turn, him staring at Deku and focusing on him. And their actions were somebody they do go to express, currently them yelling out about what's happening. And Deku does get a turn, seeing who is that guy? Currently, Cactus Man trying to at least talk about it, bring up his hands, trying to express about how they need to stop him. And Deku does move forwards. Currently, him bring up his arm as a spiked rookie shoots from it. And Cactus Man turns to Izuku, as Abel does get step back at him, seeing that his opponent has drawn his blades. And right now, he has a feel something he hasn't felt in a while. The spirit of battle. Currently, him going to move forwards. And there actually is Deku, who does a rush forwards as well. Currently, the two going to collide as able to stab Deku out into Deku's chest. And Deku throws his fist out as able to dodge. Him bringing up his arm and wrapping his elbow around the blade. Him going to begin to bend and feeling it break. Deku feeling the thing cracking in his arm as he's throw his head forwards, biting Deku in Abel's shoulder. And Abel does not stand there. Currently, him putting the blade deeper and deeper into Deku's gut. Before he does, gonna take a step backwards and throw his foot up. Him kicking Deku in the face and knocking out some of his teeth. And Deku, he currently has to look back down. Abel throwing his blade up and slashing across Deku's throat, as right now Deku's head does go flying off and smashing onto a table. It bouncing as Deku's body does go fall backwards. And Abel does stand there with his weapon. Currently, him turning to look at many other personnel who stayed to watch. And there currently is somebody who is here. Currently them ordering out about what they need to do. And personnel do begin to fire off at Abel. Currently the man bringing up his weapon and going to block it. And there actually is Deku, who right now does begin to have the blood in his body pull back together. Currently it sliding over as his head does begin to reattach. And Deku, he does sit back up, him turning and staring at Abel. As personnel, they're firing at the man who is slowly walking towards them. And there is somebody who does go moving forwards, currently them wielding a knife that Deku, he's seen before. Currently them throwing it out forwards and trying to stab at Abel. And Abel brings his hand up and slashes off that hand. The person falling to their knees and clutching at their severed arm. Currently them looking at the man and getting back onto their feet, throwing a punch directly in Abel's face. Their fist breaking upon contact as Abel, he does a stare at them, before thrusting his hand out forwards with his blade, cutting the end of them, picking up their body, and then going to turn, him tossing into the crowd of personnel. As Foundation agents do still begin to fire on Abel. And Deku, he does go moving in. Currently him smashing into Abel and picking him up. Him smashing onto their table as Abel, he has a turn, seeing Deku alive and well. And he does look strangely confused, before he has a giant smirk go across his face. And Deku, we're going to grab a part of the table, him ripping it off and smashing it across the man's face. As Abel does a throw his feet out, smashing Deku, knocking him into the ceiling. Deku falling back down as the man does a kick him away. Him falling across the room and smashing onto another table. And this, it's beginning to become a bit of a problem. Deku climbing back to his feet as the man does a stare at him. And Deku, he does visibly begin to grow. Him growing in muscle mass, along with growing a little bit larger. And the man does he try to ask exactly what type of fell creature he might be. He's only met one who could survive strikes like this. And he is curious. Do the two share similarities? Is he undying? And Deku, he does stare at Abel. Currently, his claws going to show a new strange glow. Right now, him going to stand there. Him opening his mouth and throwing in his tongue. Abel bringing his hand up, trying to grab the weapon. Currently, him wrapping his hand around Deku's tongue. It going to rip into and begin to somewhat shred around like a razor saw into the man's wrist. And Deku, he doesn't start to try and pull Abel forwards. Abel going from trying to hold Deku back to actually going to let his body fly forwards. Him flying towards Deku as Deku does go rushing in. Currently him throwing out two of his extra arms and having them manifest on his shoulders. Them flying up and grabbing Abel by his wrist. Deku bringing him to their hands and stabbing his claws directly in Abel's chest. Him holding the man in the air as Abel, he does go to headbutt Izuku. And the two, they do begin to just don't stand there. And people, they're watching these two anomalies clash. Currently, Rose, staring at the two, is able to throw his head back again and smash out forwards into Deku's head. Currently, Deku, bleeding from the head as Abel, is also bleeding. And Deku, he doesn't let the man go. Abel going from being held up in the air to being dropped. Currently, him going to throw his hands down and grab an axe. Him bringing it up and expressing to Izuku. Currently, him throwing it over his head and smashing it down. Before it does a stop as Abel, he does feel something restraining his arm. Before he has to turn his head and see the druid. Currently, her standing next to a tree as there are limbs holding the weapon. And Abel, he has to fully turn to the druid, staring at her, annoyed. You are interrupting our battle. Now stop. Otherwise I will kill you. And the druid does stare at Abel. Currently her bringing up her hands and showing off a strange glow. And the man is at turn, looking back at Deku, who does go to sit up. Him walking over and smashing his foot down Deku's neck. Him going to remanifest another weapon and hold it to Deku's face, expressing to her, he may not be one who can die, but he will make sure he makes it painful. Would she like that? She has her companion suffer a great death. And Deku looks up at Abel. Before the man, he does throw the weapon down, stabbing it into Deku's eye. And Deku doesn't feel this thing pierce into his brain. Him going to let out a strange noise as Abel does begin to twist the blade slowly. Deku bringing his hand up and grabbing the obsidian weapon. Currently, his good eye showing rage. And Abel, he has a turn looking at that. For Deku does have a laser blast out of his eye and smashing in Abel's face. Currently the man having part of his face burned as Rose doesn't move forwards. Her turning and yelling something to the task force team. Them not sure what the girl said, however, they do one thing. A man holding up a grenade launcher and blasting it out. Currently Abel being struck by it as his back does light up in flames. And there actually is Deku, who currently doesn't lay on his side for a minute and bring his hand up. Him going to break the weapon and pull his piece out of his brain. Him sitting there for a second and trying to gather his mind. Him sitting there as he does not turn. Him trying to climb to his feet and stumbling. Abel making his way towards the druid along with a few other people. And Deku really doesn't like that. Currently him seeing an anomaly make its way into the room. And he does get a stare. The thing making its way towards site personnel as they are firing at Abel. And Izuku, he doesn't watch it go to bring his hand up and form a massive hand around somebody, them being able to scream as it'll wrap around them and jump directly into their mouth. And this, it's not very good. And we do currently have Dr. Bright, who does go to whistle and express to Abel about how they're over here. And the man does get a turn, seeing a familiar amulet as Dr. Bright stands there. Him talking about how it's been a while. Though, if he remembers correctly, he's still having performance issues, isn't he? And Abel stares at Jack. That bravado. That ego, that sass. There's only one crazy fucker who's dumb enough to say that to him. And Abel does a smile. As Deku, he actually is pulled to his feet by somebody. Him turning and seeing the Gaia. Her asking him if he's okay. And Deku brings his hand up as his eye is healing. Him going to steady himself back out and run forwards. Currently him running on all fours towards Abel. And the man can hear Deku's claws on the ground. Currently, him going to turn as Deku brings his hands up and Doki uppercuts Abel with both hands. The man being sent flying backwards as he tries to kick Deku in the face. And these two have been tearing apart the cafeteria. And people have been watching. Now, Deku, he does this stand there for a minute. Him going to turn and begin to grow in size again. Currently, him bulking out more as people are watching him. And Deku, he actually then have two sets of eyes on his face. Currently, him with 4 eyes and 2 arms. Him twice his size and probably about 200 to 300 pounds heavier in muscle mass. And Abel does come back to the wall, him staring at Deku, before smirking, expressing about the fun battle that they're having. And Deku stands there annoyed, Abel rushing towards him. And whenever he does go to throw his hand up, he does go to reach his hand out. Deku smashing Abel directly in the chest. Currently Abel stabbing Lord Deku's arms as Deku goes to bring up his other hand. Him grabbing him over the leg and going to turn. Him bringing him overhead and smashing him down to the cafeteria. Currently him throwing his fist up and smashing him to the ground. Abel being punched directly through the floor and into the next level of the facility. Deku pulling Abel back through and bringing his hand back again, punching him back through again. And people, they do get to see what happens. And there actually is SCP-054, which is currently trying to kill site personnel by jumping into their body and drowning them. Currently, it's seeing these two anomalies begin to fight. And it is going to look around, currently looking for somebody to take down. And it needs to figure things out quickly. It wants to escape. However, it also is trying to harm as many men as it can. It knows what they did to it. It knows and does not like them. And currently it does a slither across the floor. As Deku, he does a pull Abel back through and turn, chucking Deku into a table as he was going to move forwards, grabbing the table and bending it around Abel. Abel beginning to try and break free of it as he's trying to summon his weapons. And Deku, we're going to bring him to the table and bring it backwards, him smashing Abel across with it as the man is flying and rolling into the ground. Currently Abel, having the restraints around him, turn into rope before they go to fall. And Deku, he does look around, him annoyed that the entity is interfering. And currently there actually is Deku, who does try to think. Him going to begin to create a spike directly from his arm, wondering about what he can do, wondering how to kill this guy. His body is getting stronger. He could... That's an idea. Intense heat. There's an idea there. Currently Abel watching Izuku. Currently his skin beginning to turn a tinge of orange. And the man, he does begin to see heat around Izuku radiating. And the water nymph is trying to move away, trying to leave the cafeteria quickly. And Deku, he doesn't move towards Abel. Currently, Abel rushing towards Deku and throwing his weapon out. And their actions where Deku does bring his hands up and grabs onto one of them. Currently the one sinking its way into his body and slicing into him. And Deku, he does get to heat it up, before two of his hands do to bring themselves up, smashing Abel in the sides of the head. Currently, Abel being disoriented as the obsidian blade does get to melt. And Deku, he would then get a turn, bring all 4 of his hands up as 2 of them, they are currently turning into a magma-like material. Abel feeling these things melting into his skull, feeling these things burning his skin. And Deku, he currently does actually throw Abel to the ground, his body turning more and more like a running goop. And currently, Abel, he is overpowered. Him being forced onto the ground as his body is being torn away by the heat and the intensity that Deku currently is suffering and smothering him under. Now, after everything is said and done, there actually is where Deku, he does begin to reform. Him going to actually reform his body as he has to bring his hand up. Him going to crack his neck as he has to look down at his wounds. Deku bringing his hands up as he has to look down at his hands, which are still trying to return back to normal. Before he has to look around, the cafeteria being there. Before he is then teleported away. And the creature does go to express. Currently Deku standing on a cold mountain. Him looking around. And the entity, it does get to manifest again. It floating down and telling him. Honestly, that one was a little intriguing. A little lackluster, though he's sure the next one will be good. In fact, he can set up round 2 right now. The amount of chaos that radiated off of that. It didn't even mean for that one water lady to get involved. Then again, shifting reality around you has been getting interesting. What can I do next? The entity going to say its name. And Deku, he doesn't actually stare at it. Currently, his eyes twitching and moving wildly. Blood beginning to pour from his nose as another substance does go to as well. Along with the fact that Deku's ears, they currently do begin to leak a strange goo. And the creature, it does continue to talk to Izuku in this strange language, watching Deku's brain leak out of his ears, nose, and eyes. It's beginning to laugh before it does then going to drop Izuku somewhere. Now, Deku, he currently is falling. Him smashing down and going to sit up. Highly confused. And Deku, he does sit there on the ground for a minute, trying to regain his composure. That fucking hurt. And Deku is trying to just let his brain heal. He is currently working on basic instinct. Though, without a survival instinct, that's a bit strange to talk about, let alone experience. And Deku, he does just sit there, knowing he's not going to die. That's the only thing his body seems to be able to rationalize. However, he currently is shaking. Currently, his body trying to regain motor control as that part of his brain is trying to rebuild. And the entity, it is watching on. Currently, Deku trying to climb to his feet as he does continue to fall forwards. Him smashing onto the ground as right now he's just going to lay there. Currently, him laying in a ball as he is trying to heal. And the entity does it turn his attention away as another entity is walking down the hallway to see Izuku. Him laying there and still somewhat spasming. Now, it does get a walk over. Currently, it staring at him and going to bend down. Because this could be interesting. And the next is Deku, who does gotta turn his head and see the, well, strange white face of the creature. It going to reach its hands out and grab him. Currently, Deku being teleported away, and Mallow taking him somewhere he can actually heal. Since whatever happened to him may not have been good. Now, Deku, he has to reappear in a room on the other side of the site. Currently, Mallow going to disappear and then going to reappear. Her grabbing a few other people and going to teleport them away. And this, it is trying to help. And there actually is Deku, who does lay there, as you know his eyes, they're rapidly moving. And he actually is able to tell some shapes and colors again. Him just sitting there. Before the reaction of Dr. Cleft is teleported in and he is shouting something. Him turning to the creature and yelling at it about what the fuck it did. Him turning, seeing Dr. Bright, and then seeing a few other people. Him yelling at them about what's going on. Since the entity is taking control of practically the entire goddamn site. This entire place has turned into a fucking labyrinth. He doesn't understand it. Reality anchors should all be in order. Everything should be functioning perfectly fine, but it isn't. Whatever this thing did, it's winning. If the Foundation know anything, they would have already sent an MTF. It's only letting them exist because they can feed it more. And currently they do hear a sound outside. Dr. Bright gonna turn. Him looking at a few people as there actually is Dr. Cleft, who does go express. Currently them walking over and going to open the door. But they'll be right back. They're gonna go talk with that D class. Him heading out the door. As everyone, they do get to hear Dr. Bright rapidly make his way down the hallway. Gunshots beginning to ensue. Now then, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.